Afternoon, Minister. It almost seems like old news now, as it's been so long since I've had the chance to question you as spokesperson's questions in the Chamber. But it comes of great concern to education providers and myself that the new curriculum will see the separate sciences of GCSE merged and the English and English literature also merged. We have always realised in this Chamber the importance of science and the importance of encouraging people into science, as well as obviously highlighting the importance of people going into science for our future economy, for future jobs. So I was quite baffled when I heard this announcement, and for me it flies in the face of one of the four purposes of the new curriculum. The issue of conflating subjects is nothing less than to disregard the best of what has been thought and said over centuries. Biology is not chemistry, and English is not English literature. Minister, England will be keeping separate subjects, appreciating their value and importance. So, Minister, do you not see that this will inevitably now cause a brain drain of students who want to study medicine at Oxbridge, who will obviously need triple science GCSEs to maximise their chance of success? Is this really what we want to see happen? It's hard enough to recruit into the education sector without staff feeling that their subject is being dissolved or amalgamated. I'd love to hear your comments, Minister, on what impact you think that this move will have on the children of Wales, a move that is not supported by the majority of the educational sector, including the union ASCL Cymru, who highlighted that only 30% of those involved in the original consultation exercise thought that this was a laudable or workable idea, but somehow it made it into the final report. So, Minister, why is it that the unions, professors at Swansea University and the Royal Society of Chemistry are wrong about the disastrous impact of this decision, and yet you and Qualifications Wales are right? Thanks, Minister. I mean, the majority of people I've spoken to is quite the opposite that I'm getting. But a damning new report last night that was released by NHT Cymru, another union minister, has highlighted the impact of the chronic underfunding of Welsh schools. A failure to invest the state of Welsh school funding in 2021 provides troubling examples of the ways teachers have been forced to cut expenditure to balance budgets in the face of labour costs cuts. More than three-quarters of school leaders said that they do not have sufficient capital funding to maintain their buildings. Almost 92% reported funding for pupils with special educational needs in their school is insufficient, and 94% reported that additional learning needs funding they receive is not sufficient to meet the needs of the new ALN legislation introduced by this government. Nearly 4/5 of school leaders said that the cuts they are being forced to make will have a negative or strongly negative impact on the quality of school provision for Welsh pupils. This is obviously a damning report from this union, poses many questions, Ministers. I mean, the fact remains that pupils in Wales receive £1,000 less than those in England. So when will this Welsh Government ensure equality of funding between pupils in England and pupils in Wales? And when will you invest in our children's future and perhaps even fund schools directly to ensure that the pupils and the schools get the money that they deserve? Thank you, Minister. Also, the attainment gap figures recently released paint a very worrying picture. They have been exacerbated by the inequality between the better off and the poorest in Welsh society. Top GCSE results show a gap now of 11.5% in 2021. Minister, how are you planning to tackle this attainment gap and ensure that young people in Wales are afforded the best start in life, regardless of their background, as this Welsh Labour government seems to be letting down the poorest in our communities? But it was bad before the pandemic, Minister, but now worse as a move to centre-assessed grades seems to have exacerbated the situation. Do you not agree with me that return to exams is now more crucial than ever? And I know you've said now that that's what you want to do, but in this chamber, can you now say that that is what your intention is, to bring back that move to exams? And what are you doing, Minister, to ensure that those children off school with COVID or COVID-related for the COVID-related regulations are receiving the education that they need and they deserve? Because it's a significant amount of times of children are having off school at the moment, to ensure that this gap doesn't widen in the future.